Okay. All right. Let's talk about money. Money. Damn it. Okay. Oh boy. The market seems to be doing a bit of a dump today, and people are super emotional. Yesterday, I lost about 7 subscribers, and I think it's probably because I was a little bit bearish, saying that we were getting just a little overextended. But to be fair, I did catch a glimpse at myself in the mirror earlier, and I am a little bit hard to look at, so I could see why some people are running for the hills. But for now, it seems like Bitcoin is mostly going downhill for the day. And at the time of recording, we're actually putting in about a 2.5% candle today, and we're down about 6% from the peak that we had just a few days ago. So we're finally starting to see this negative divergence or bearish divergence on the RSI playing out with this higher high here for the price and this lower low for the RSI. And it does look like on the daily chart, the RSI is dipping back down into the not so overbought territory, but I think we still might have a little bit more downward pressure to go. Usually in a bull market, an average for pullbacks is about 20 or 30%, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have to go down that low. It just means that that's something that you can pretty much expect. But just 16% down below the previous peak that we just had is the previous resistance level, and hopefully we'll be turning that into support. But by the time we get down here, we're probably going to be hearing all the bears come back out and say we're going back down to 20,000 or maybe even 15,000. As a matter of fact, it seems like people might already be starting to panic just a little bit. I don't know why, though. I mean, retracements are to be expected, and we have been going pretty much straight up for the past couple of months. And if you look here at the FAG or Fear and Greed Index, you can see that we're reaching levels that we haven't even seen since back in October of 2021, which is obviously pretty significant. This is the levels we were sitting at right before the FTX collapse, as far as the Fear and Greed Index goes, and pretty much as well for the price also. So there's a lot of people that are going to be trying to recuperate their losses, and they're probably going to take a little bit of profit since we are up at least a 2x for the year already. And while I haven't sold any significant portions of my portfolio really, I have took a little bit of profit, mostly because I expect a little bit of a retracement. And with Bitcoin already ripping so far this year, I think it might be time to diversify into a few altcoins and get ready for these parabolic movements that gaming tokens and stuff like that are going to have later on. Nobody's ever gone broke from taking profits, as they say, and those profits can be used to multiply your gains in the next part of the bull market. But as I always say, nothing goes in a straight line forever, and we were due for a pullback, so this ain't scaring me. And neither is the subscribers that I've lost, because if you've been subscribed to this channel for any amount of time, you know that that's not really what's important to me. What's important to me is actually the truth. I can sit here and be bullish all day, every day, and I could have done that through the whole bear market. I probably would have gained a lot more subscribers, but that's just not worth it to me. I'm trying to grow a real community here, and I expect to make my money out of crypto, not from YouTube, really. I mean, if I say what's on my mind, they're not going to give me any money anyway, so what do I care? But right here on this channel is where you can get the 100% honest news because, like I said, I don't care about the subscriber count. Yeah, I would love to see it go up, but I think that's going to happen pretty much naturally whenever the bull market comes back anyhow. So if you want the real honest truth throughout the whole bull market, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But if you want somebody that's just going to be bullish no matter what, then get the hell out of here. What are you doing? Anyway, let's get back into this content. A lot of people are saying that we're having this retracement right now because there was a false report that XRP was going to be getting a spot ETF as well. According to this article on Cointelegraph, XRP jumped and then dumped on fake BlackRock XRP trust filing. And apparently, from what I understand, somebody just went on the SEC website and put a proposal for an XRP spot ETF or something like that, just because they knew it would be on the SEC website and that would make people speculate. Whoever that was apparently ran off with all kinds of money, and they dumped probably as soon as they started seeing it pump, because it didn't take long for people to sort this thing out and for BlackRock to actually come out and tell everybody that this was just a hoax and they weren't actually applying for an XRP spot ETF. But maybe they will later on since they saw how much interest this brought up. In my opinion, though, the real reason why we were actually probably dumping today is because FTX and Terra Luna are actually some of the biggest gainers this week, with FTX still being up 160% for the past 7 days, and Terra Luna being up almost 50%. This was much more severe earlier, I think even yesterday, and this was probably a good sign that things were getting a little bit overheated because these coins should be absolutely dead. I mean, I kind of understand why FTX pumped a little bit since Gary Gensler is a dumbass and said that he might support a relaunch of the exchange. But anybody with a brain can tell you that if it's going to be run by the people that ran it before, then it's obviously a scam. And the government is pretty much who took it over after the scammers did. So some scammers replaced it with some crooks and scammers. So whatever, do you want to invest with crooks and scammers, or are you trying to get into a decentralized situation so that you can escape the financial system? Some crypto bros really confuse me. I mean, what narrative are you guys even investing for? Obviously, it's just to make money, but damn, FTX? Come on. Anyway, speaking of FTX, according to this Wall Street Journal Pro article, FTX is suing a crypto exchange called Bybit to recover almost $1 billion in cash and assets. I don't personally invest with Bybit, and I don't use leverage trading or anything like that, but I do see a lot of these crypto influencers promoting this exchange here because it does have leverage, and they obviously get paid a whole bunch of money. As a matter of fact, usually if they're promoting that kind of thing, then that's a channel that I try to avoid. But I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there that do have their money in Bybit, and I know Bybit isn't regulated in the US, so I'm not sure if they have $1 billion in cash reserves to back up all of the customers' deposits that's on the platform. But if I had any money in Bybit, I would probably try to get it off of there as soon as I can, because you never know how this kind of stuff is going to play out. This probably isn't having much of a negative effect on the price of cryptocurrencies thus far, but if any rumors start to come out that maybe they're going to go insolvent, then that could probably cause a little bit of panic in the space, especially since, like I said, the biggest influencers in the space are all pretty much sponsored by Bybit, and that would probably be detrimental to a lot of their viewers' portfolios. Whatever the reason is, though, for the retracement we've been seeing so far, it might actually continue if we don't see one of these spot ETFs being approved here in the next couple of weeks. Because as you can see here, the last deadline for one of these spot ETFs is actually on Thanksgiving Day, and it's probably not going to be approved on Thanksgiving Day. But that's the Global X Bitcoin Trust. And if that one doesn't get approved, then the next deadline is going to be actually next year on January 1st. Again, I say we're probably not going to be seeing these be approved, especially not on that date. But the next promising deadline that we actually have coming up after Thanksgiving isn't until January 10th, and that is the ARK21 shares Bitcoin ETF refiling. This is Kathy Wood's company, and she would probably sue the heck out of the SEC if they denied her and then right away approved BlackRock on the 15th. And BlackRock would probably be pretty upset if Kathy Wood got her ETF and they didn't. So I think this might actually be the most likely candidate for the day we could be seeing all of these ETFs being approved. And if we don't see any of these being approved until Thanksgiving, then it might be until next year around the 10th or 15th before we even see the speculation or hype even come back around the whole ETF approval situation. This means that we could be reaching the peak of the hype of just the rumors that it could be being approved. And over the holiday season, that hype could die down a little bit, and so could the price. I think it'll come back next year, though, because that's when we're probably actually going to be seeing these things be approved. But for now, I kind of feel like we've reached the peak of the hype around the possible ETF approvals. And seeing things like FTX and Terra Luna pumping was probably a real strong sign that we were reaching a frothy point. Fortunately, though, it looks like inflation is continuing to come down, and it actually came a little bit lower than the forecast. Today, we got CPI coming out at 3.2%, with the expectation being 3.3%, and the previous being 3.7%. I was talking about how the previous numbers were up a little bit from their previous numbers, and that was to be expected because just like how we don't go up in a straight line forever with the Bitcoin price, inflation isn't going to go down in a straight line forever either. It's going to have some fluctuation. Overall, though, it still looks like it's headed on a downward trajectory, and this is a positive thing for the markets because it looks like we have finally reached the peak of the Fed's interest rate hikes, and if inflation continues to come down, then the next thing that's going to come down is the interest rates as well. Whenever the Fed lowers interest rates, we all know the markets are going to explode, and as the federal government continues to spend out of control, as the treasury market continues to be more saturated, eventually there's not going to be any other option but for the Fed to add to their balance sheet again. Whenever this happens, liquidity is going to pour back into the system. And if BlackRock actually has their ETF approved by that time, then as this article on CoinDesk says, that BlackRock spot ETF is going to introduce crypto to a broader investor base. This ETF is going to ease restrictions for large money managers and institutions to buy and hold Bitcoin, which will improve liquidity and price discovery for all market participants. This is going to make it possible for pension funds and IRAs and all kinds of retirement investments to be poured into cryptocurrency, and that's where most of the money in the world actually sits. Not to mention these huge asset managers like BlackRock, who manage more than $10 trillion in assets under management. And if even half of all of these institutions start putting like 1% of all of their assets under management into Bitcoin, then this thing is going to go to the moon and we're going to be seeing the best bull market of all time. Like I've said in the past, eventually the halving cycles are not going to be what drives the price of Bitcoin. That was ever only really intended to bring initial interest to the space, but eventually the transaction volume on the blockchain is going to be so significant that miners are going to get most of their profits from transaction fees instead of actually solving blocks. And eventually I think that the velocity of Bitcoin on the network is going to be what actually drives the price, instead of the supply being more and more limited from the halving. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are we actually going to be entering the biggest bull market of all time? And eventually, is the halvenings not going to be what pushes the price of Bitcoin? Or do you think that the halvenings is what's going to drive the narrative from now until the end of time? And we're basically going to see diminished returns and then taper off and just go sideways one day. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. And don't forget to hit that follow, like, and subscribe button. And if you want to support the channel, and if you want to chat with the community or real-time updates on the markets, or if you want the best memes on all of the internet, you can find those only in the Only Good Discord crypto server. There's a link down to everything in the description. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.